What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love. This is season 7, episode 7, and the episode is titled Queens Don't Chase. And baby, I'm going to have a lot of opinions on this episode, so let's go ahead and jump right on in. So, as you already know, we are starting off with the ladies still arguing. Oh, yes, Susu and Jeffrey are still going back and forth and back, and I'm over it. Like, at one point, I feel like Susu stopped talking and Jeffrey kept going. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out was the fact that Marcia, she was ready for this conversation to be over. However, Morgan, on the other hand, she was here for it. She was here for the drama. She was here for the mess, because now we know for sure she hates Blake. And she doesn't really care for Susu either. So the fact that Jeffrey was in her bag, going off, she was feeling it. And I'm just like, but why? Because y'all don't have a connection, so it should not even matter to you. Now, when it comes to Jeffrey and how she feels, honestly, at this point, I feel like she definitely has an issue with Blake and Susu, because it seems like she hasn't moved on from it, but they have. Like, they are focused on each other. Let them rock over there. One thing I want to point out about this season is that for some reason, everybody thinks that everybody needs to date everybody. When really, the whole point of this was so that you can make a connection, maybe two connections, and then you move forward from there. Nobody needs to date and get to know every person on this cast. Nonetheless, I thought we were about to get down to the nitty gritty. Somebody's going home. Oh no. Tommy says we got to feed these people, so we got to wait a little bit longer. So everybody goes to get food or whatever, and we got to see a few conversations happen here and there. A few of them that I wanted to point out was the fact that Andre and Jeffrey, they decided to have a conversation where Jeffrey, she really was putting it on thick. She literally was like, oh my God, Andre, I just don't want you to think that, this is how I am. Like, you just saw me argue with somebody, and that's just not who I am. Like, it's just been so much, but I'm just so happy that you're back, Andre. And I'm just like, girl, you are pouring it on very thick. Clearly, she is trying to keep Andre in her pocket because, as you already know, Jeffrey is building a roster, okay? One thing she gonna do on this show is leave here with a man. Baby girl has Mark Anthony, she has Blue, and of course now she has Andre. Now, speaking of Andre, let's continue with this guy. He decides to roll up on Mercedes, have a little conversation with her, and he wants to know, well, why didn't you reach out to me? And she was honest. You were out of sight and out of mind. And here's my thing. Andre, how dare you? You decided to up and quit the competition. You decided to stay home. Remember? You quit. So how dare you be mad at this girl for moving on with the connections who actually showed up and proved that they were actually interested in her? Like, be for real. If you really wanted to be interested in any of these ladies, you would have showed up. But no, you quit. So I'm not understanding why nobody has checked Andre. Like, baby boy, you just got back here. You've been missing by your own choice. Because I get that he was sick, but you still made that decision that you were not going to participate any longer on the show. So at the end of the day, why am I wasting phone calls and conversations on you when you couldn't even show up? Okay? You decided to leave. So stay going. Or if you're going to come into this competition, you should be explaining why you up and quit. That's my main question right now. Why is nobody asking Andre, so what made you decide to leave the show? What made you want to come back? Like, it's blowing my mind that none of these chicks asked him, okay, so what made you say, I don't want to come back to the show? Because we've seen people have COVID before on this show. And what happens? They take their time out, and then they come back. But for some reason, Andre seems to be getting a pass. And honestly, I want Mercedes to go ahead and date other people besides Andre, because he only going to waste her time anyways. Moving along. I want to say that there was a really cute scene between Tony and Jonique, where they were flirting with each other. And I'm just like, the only thing about that is he is older than her. And I feel like she needs a younger guy. She needs somebody she can go out with who doesn't look like he could be her father. So, yeah, Jonique needs somebody else. What other conversations happened? Oh, the conversation between Anthony, Marcia, and Morgan. First things first, you have Morgan saying how, queens don't chase and how she feels like Anthony actually wants to be pursued. And I mean, like, baby girl had a lot to say. According to her, she talks to him on the phone, but the next day when everybody's around, he don't speak to her, all this stuff, right? My question is this, who's initiating the conversations? Are you calling and reaching out to Anthony, or is he reaching out to you? Because honestly, I feel like Anthony is interested in the women that he actually is interested in. Like, he's interested in Cynthia. He's interested in Mercedes. I don't think he's interested in Morgan. I don't think he's interested in Marcia. And that's absolutely fine because you literally have Marcia chiming in saying how he's reaching for the lower hanging fruit. I said, wait a second. So you're really going to diss the other ladies like that? You're really going to diss Cynthia and Mercedes like that? Saying that they're lower hanging fruit? Girl, really? Like, that scene really did bother me because they practically double teamed that man and then was like, I don't think he gets it. Yeah, girl, he doesn't get it. Like, right in his face. And he's like, what am I not getting? Yeah, you know what this game is, Anthony. You know why you're here. I feel like Anthony is actually one of the genuine people who is only focusing on the what connections that matter and make sense to him. Because it doesn't make sense for us to be in episode 7 at this point. For him to try and muster up some feelings and try to make a connection happen with ladies that he already know he ain't got no interest in. Like, I feel like a lot of the ladies want to be played with at this point. And everybody just wants to have multiple people on their roster, even though the connection is not there. Like Marcia, you don't even want a man with kids. He has a daughter. He should not be on your list. Same thing with Tony. Tony has children. He should not be on your list. Marcia, why are you checking for Blue? He has a child. Hell, Blue does everything that you don't want to do. Why is he on your list? Like, make this season make sense, please. I am so over it. Oh, now speaking of Morgan, though, you guys, we actually saw her have a conversation with Tony, and baby girl decided she was going to go, tell him about himself. How she feel like he is very much like Anthony. He just a smooth talker. He just be moving around the room, talking to everybody. And I'm like, well, girl, he can't talk to everybody because he's not your man. So he's like, where are you coming from with all of this? Of course, he still has interest in her. But she's like, yeah, you be doing too much. You this, that, another. And I'm just like, but here's the thing, baby girl. You can say all of this, and Tony has yet to claim you. He has not said, Morgan, you know what? I choose you. We're going to be moving forward in this process together. So at the end of the day, he can go smile in everybody's face the same way that you go smile in Lyndon's face. The same way, at this point, you actually want to go smile in Anthony's face, even though I don't think Anthony wants you. Now, of course, Tony takes this in stride because this just, adds another layer to his ego because he's like, oh, so Morgan checking on me, she checking for me. You know what I mean? This strokes his ego. And of course, this leads to flirty banter between the two. And I'm just like, all right, we gonna see how long this lasts. Moving forward, Tommy finally shows back up and we are going to have deliberations. All right, so here's my thing. Tommy asks who are the ladies feeling, and Jeffrey and Cynthia both say that Andre is still at the top. I guess them phone conversations was working for them because I'm sorry, the day that man would have left that competition, I would have been like, all right, deuces, because why should I still be having conversations with you when you're no longer in the competition? And like, you chose to leave. This ain't like it was a group vote and I had no control. Everyone, voted above me. No, you chose. It's blowing my mind. This man has never had to have an explanation as to why he chose to leave. Now, y'all, I actually felt bad for Susu because when she decided to go around and say that her and Blake had a strong connection, how they kissed, all this stuff, baby, nobody was supporting it. Like, there were crickets, okay? Because nobody cares for Blake. Oh, I also wanted to mention the fact that when it comes to Morgan, she says that she really does like Lyndon, but their age gap may be an issue. But she feels like they can make it work. And I'm just like, okay, but like, be for real. What type of relationship do you want to have? Because the relationship that you're going to have with Lyndon is very different than what the option with Tony would be like. Like, be for real. Now, when it comes to Tony, you already know that he's going to say that he's really feeling Morgan. Oh, he went a step further. He described their date. He talks about the sunset and how the birds were chirping and how they kissed 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. I said, oh, so you're doing this so that you could throw it in Lyndon's face? All right, cool. I see the game that you playing. Now let's talk about who the ladies are not feeling. First things first, you already know it is going to be Blake. And the ladies are not feeling him. Of course, Jonique, she has no connection with him. We saw that bad date. Morgan, she feels like he's not genuine and how he's not authentic according to Morgan. And the next guy that they decide to bring up, Mark Anthony, and of course they're saying that they don't think he's ready and that maybe he'll be ready in a couple of years or whatever. I want to talk about this whole thing with Anthony. Morgan is like, on the first day, actually, he was my number one pick, but, I didn't want to tell you that, Tommy. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then she goes on to say that, he doesn't reach out to her like that, and how, he basically dissed her 3 different times because he would talk to her on the phone, but he wouldn't talk to her in person. Now, I'm just like, girl, that should tell you something. Clearly, if he's like, having phone conversations with you, he might just be doing it to be friendly because he seems like the type of guy that's just like, oh, okay, yeah, we're cool, we're friends, I'll talk to you. But that does not mean that it has to be a romantic connection. Also, if this man paid you dust 3 times in person, that means that you're not his person. He's not interested. So why are you harboring on this? Oh, and then let me get to Susu, because Susu had the audacity to say, Anthony, oh my God, it's so hard with him because he's in my top. He's been in my top, but he hasn't even told me if he likes me yet. He don't like you. Is everybody like okay this season? I think everybody is tripping. If this man has paid you dust, okay? The man may have, nice things to say, hey, how you doing here and there, but he's not pursuing you. He should not be in your top. You should not even pay attention to him because he's not interested in you. And then for Marcia to chime in so that we can round this on out, she's like, I've just been waiting for Anthony to show up, but he hasn't because he's not interested in you. Because let me tell you who he probably shows up for. I bet you he shows up for Cynthia. I bet you he shows up for Mercedes. So, yeah, I would rather these people not try to force relationships or, situationships, whatever this is, than to sit up here and play with us the whole time knowing they really not interested. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the guys. All right, so when it comes to Blake, we already know that he is going to list. He does not see it for Jeffrey, and that is okay. Now, he also lists Morgan as a person that he ain't checking for. He said because she wants children at any cost, and that's not something that he's interested in right now. I said, you know what? Blake, I can't even knock you because at least you're being upfront and honest with yourself. Tony, do you want more kids? Because if the answer is no, stop wasting Morgan's time. Just want to throw that out there. Andre, he decides to pipe up and he wants to throw Mercedes under the bus yet again, talking about she didn't check up on me. I really wanted Tommy to say, well, listen, bruh, you stepped out of the competition. So why should she check in on you? So the next lady that's brought up is Jonique. Of course, a lot of the guys are not feeling her, even though I love Jonique. Seriously, I think that she's one of the best girls that's here. Tony, he says that, he likes her. However, he feels like the age gap that's between them is probably an issue. And I'm like, yes, sir, because you're in your what, mid to late 40s, and she's just now turning 30. Leave her alone. Now, y'all, when it came down to who was on the chopping block, it was Anthony and Mark Anthony. I was surprised that it wasn't Blake. But I said, well, Susu must have fought for her man. Now, the ladies, they actually decided to go ahead and use the lifeline so Mark Anthony could stay. Now, when it comes to the guys, who was up for the elimination? Susu and Jonique. Did they use a lifeline? No. So Jonique actually had to go home, which I'm just like, her man ain't here anyways. So best luck to her. Now, Cynthia was actually upset that the guys didn't use the lifeline because at the end of the day, Jonique did have some connections. And we also learned that that was the last time that they would possibly be able to use the lifeline. So now, whoever is going home, they are going home. Let's get into these dates. First things first, let's talk about this production setup date between Anthony and Susu. Because this man is not interested in her like that, but we're going to play along. So he actually invited her to his house, and his house is very nice. He had her helping him in the kitchen prepare, I think it was salad that he made, and then he had made some other stuff or whatever. And of course, she wants to know where she stands. And I'm just like, Anthony, this is your moment to be like, you stand nowhere. I'm not interested. But no, he's going to go ahead and play along with her. I feel like they are not a match. Also, they did do their little 1-2 step on the dance floor at his house, but that was really it. Like, there's nothing there, to be honest. On the other hand, we have Jeffrey going on another date with Mark Anthony. One thing that I will say is that at least they are constantly pursuing each other instead of wasting their time going on unnecessary dates this late in the game. So she does end up letting him know that she has Crohn's disease. He has no idea what that is. And of course, she goes on to explain. And I will say that I did like the fact that he asked, how do the kids deal with the fact that you have Crohn's disease? And, she explained how the kids react and everything. And he just basically spoke positive words about her. And she feels like this makes their connection even stronger. I just really want her to ask him, does he actually want to date a woman with children? That's all I want to know. But let's go ahead and move along. All right, now we also see another date with Mark Anthony, and he is with Mercedes. One thing that I will say is that these two actually have some things in common because not only does he want to get his pilot's license, but she does as well. And I'm just like, all right, that's really cool. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out about this date was that they were very playful and being fun with each other. Like when they were talking about how she couldn't wink and little stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, this is cute. Their conversation got a bit sexual a little bit. And I'm just like, I feel like this is the real Mark Anthony. Like, I feel like he's more so himself when he is with Mercedes versus the image that he is trying to uphold when he's with Jeffrey. Now, we also see a date with Morgan and Tony. And you know what? I actually like the fact that they have been consistently going out on dates with each other because it's definitely going to make sense for future episodes when they have to meet, everybody's friends and family and exes and all that. It makes sense because they've been consistent with each other. Now, when they first start having a conversation, Morgan again is talking about how she feels like he's a wild card and how she can't really trust him like that because she does not know what he's capable of. I said, yeah, ding, ding, ding. You need to be worried about what Tony might be doing instead of worrying about Anthony and Blake. Now, of course, they talk about her connection with Lyndon and how she feels like Lyndon is the only guy who's not scared of Tony or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't really think it's that. I think that that you're just using Lyndon to have something to throw in Tony's face just in case he actually goes with Marcia instead of you. She also goes on to talk about how, he needs to narrow it down, he needs to clean it up, all this stuff about his connections. And I'm just like, the language that her and Marcia use is very interesting in regards to how they are technically dissing the other ladies. Now, according to Tony, he only has another connection with Marcia, so it's only two options. I said, what she mean by clean it up? I thought that was your homegirl. Nonetheless, she feels like they both left that date with a little bit more clarity of where they stand with each other. Now, we see Morgan again, and she's actually going to be going out with Blake, of all people. And she basically said that he wanted to, go out and see where her head was at and just get a little bit more clarity as to why she feels the way that she feels. And when they start to have the conversation, he basically asks her to explain, how did we get here? How did we get to the point where you feel this way about me? I mean, he didn't say that, but that's basically what he was saying because he just wanted some clarification. So, according to Morgan, she says that she already told him about, what happened at the initial mixer, and that's why she feels the way that she feels. And how does he feel about it? And he's like, I apologize because, he didn't want her to feel any type of way. But she's like, how can you apologize if you don't even know what you're apologizing for? And it's like, because you said that you were hurt, because you said that something that he said, it definitely bothered you. So if you're feeling some type of way, yeah, the person is going to apologize, even if they don't remember fully what they said that bothered you. So let's just say Blake must have struck a nerve because when he mentioned, if you tell me that I hurt you, in some type of way, she cut him off real quick and was like, you didn't hurt me. You did not hurt me, Blake. I'm just like, girl, just accept this apology so that we can all move on. Because this energy is real unnecessary because clearly he ain't checking for you. You're not on his list. And you're not checking for him. So you should not even have this much energy for Blake at this point. So she feels like Blake attacked her because she said that she wanted a family. And according to her, his exact words were, so you're not going to be happy until you have kids. Oh, she took issue with that because according to Morgan, she is the happiest that she's ever been and she don't need no man or no kids to be happy. I said, well, girl, why do you want a family then? Make that make sense. Like, you can absolutely be happy and content with your life, but be honest with yourself and say, you know what? Yes, I am very happy with where I am right now, but, some kids and a husband, that will be the cherry on top. Like, I'm not even understanding why this is a topic to argue about. So then she goes on to mention how Blake basically told her that if you want kids, 80% of the stuff that you're going to want, you're not going to get. Now, was that harsh? Absolutely. But let's be honest. Even though having children is so beautiful and it's amazing, all that stuff, let's be honest. If you ask any person, if you go back and ask your parents, what did they want to do before they had kids, I'm pretty sure it's very different than what their life actually turned out to be. For most people. For most people, it's very hard to try to reach all the goals that you may have set out for yourself while you have children. Because, number one, financially, sometimes you can't really do everything. And also, time. Listen, we only got 24 hours in a day. And you got to also have time to work. You have to have time to spend with the kids. Like, there is a chance that you will reach your goals, but it may take you a lot longer. And that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, let's be honest. Like, sometimes having children, it just makes things take a little bit longer for you to reach your goals. And that's okay. And of course, some of your goals have to change. Now, Blake, he finally speaks up and he's like, I already have children, and this is how, a lot of people who have children feel. And I must say, yeah, a lot of people that have children, they do feel that way. I don't even have children, but I do understand where Blake is coming from. Now, here's my thing. In her confessional, Morgan says that Blake needs professional help because clearly somebody hurt him. It was probably his 3 different baby mamas, all this stuff. And I'm just like, girl, Why are you even investing this much energy into this man when he don't like you and you don't like him? Or maybe you do like him and it sucks that he's not into you. Because let's be honest, I know that a lot of people hate Blake. But to be honest, I feel like Blake is one of the only people on this season who is actually playing the game with intentions. Okay, Blake came in and said, I already got 3 kids. I don't need no more. So if any of these ladies say that they want kids, I'm automatically not about to waste their time. I'm not about to play in their face. I'm going to focus on making connections with women who do not want to have children, or they may already have children and are not planning to have any more. I don't see what the issue is. If this man don't want to have no children, it doesn't make sense for him to waste your time, Morgan. Like, honestly, this is no different than when they were in the men's lounge and he was talking about how, he doesn't see it for him and Jonique. And he said because, there's an age difference there and she wants to, still party and all this stuff. Clearly, that's not the lifestyle that Blake lives. So why would he try to date her? It doesn't make sense. Let's go ahead and move on. Oh, Morgan decides to take on Jeffrey's battle and bring up the fact that, him and Jeffrey, they clash. And his whole point is that the only reason why he even addressed it was because it kept being brought up. So if it keeps being brought up, of course you're going to have to, say something. Y'all, this man said he felt like the situation with Jeffrey, it was starting to grow like a cancer. And her response was, nah, I feel like that's you. I feel like you're a cancer. She told that man that she thinks he's malignant. And I'm just like, girl, why do you have this much heat for a man that don't pay you no never mind? Like, being for real right now. Why do you have so much energy for Blake of all people who pays you dust? Like, if anything, go be in Linda's face with that. Go ask him when he plan on not having a roommate. Go ask Lyndon when is he planning on leaving this nightlife and doing something more than being a bartender. Go ask Tony some questions. I don't understand why you got all this energy for Blake. And y'all already know I do not care for Blake. But I feel like in this situation, Morgan is loud and wrong. Like, she literally told him that she feels like he's lying and that he is not being honest with these women. And I'm like, not being honest about what? What is he telling them? Because the only person that he's talking to that at least we've seen is Susu. And him and Susu seem to be in a world of their own. And the fact that you keep on trying to cling on to the whole situation with Jeffrey, even if he was checking on Jeffrey, trying to see what the numbers look like and all this stuff, isn't that what you've been doing with Tony? Isn't it the same exact thing that you've been checking on Tony about? You done told Tony how he be smiling in everybody's face. You don't like that. You told him to clean it up. You told him to cut the numbers down. Wasn't you doing all of that? That's the same exact thing that Jeffrey has accused oh boy of. That sounds a bit controlling, what you've been doing with Tony, just saying. Then on top of that, she goes on to say how, it's a disservice to the women, how she finds it to be disgusting, all this stuff. Now Blake finally is like, is it my turn to speak? And she's like, yeah, whatever. And when he does speak, he's like, listen, you have not spoken to me. You have had no interest in speaking to me. And to be honest, your opinion doesn't even matter to me. That's basically what he said. And I said, you know what? That's right, Blake. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to talk to Morgan. You're not interested in her. That's fine. So they actually end this date with Morgan saying, I hope I don't see you again because the women deserve a guy better than you. And I'm just like, girl, you have so much to say about this man when you have not even talked to him. You haven't gone out on dates with him. You don't really even know him. Like, I can understand if at one point her and Blake kind of had a thing going, so they've had conversations and all this stuff, and then he kind of turned. But they never really spoke like that. She only spoke to the man on the first day. Girl, get out my face with this. Move along. Like Blake said, focus on your connection and I wish you the best. Now, again, you guys, I keep saying this about this cast. I don't know why everybody feels like we need to date everybody and everybody needs to be on everybody's list. Clearly, y'all don't. Focus on who you're interested in, keep your 1 to 2 people, and let that be. Because this conversation between Morgan and Blake was honestly unnecessary. I mean, it was great from, a producer standpoint, but this honestly makes no sense. And you guys, that was the episode. Let me know what y'all thought about it. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.